families and moving forward and lifting our nation up. And so this initiative, I think, is a national one, as I said earlier, but not an international one that will make the country proud, particularly with the kind of investment that we made in Washington for infrastructure. We got to make it. It's great to build a tunnel. It's great to build a bridge and the 2nd Avenue subway, but it's even better to lift thousands of families along with it. And so that's what this project is about, connecting infrastructure to jobs. And so with that, I introduce you to the Secretary of Labor, Secretary Walsh.
Thank you, Congressman, and I want to thank you for the governor show up for me.
The governor.
Yes. I'm not hung up on protocol, but thank you, Congressman. And I do remember I was a brand new governor about a year ago, and I was invited to have just a casual dinner with Congressman Espaillat, to just talk about some of their priorities. And this was top of mind. This is very much top of mind in terms of an opportunity using this outstanding educational institution to be the vehicle to transport young people to a better future. And how do we do that? We train them in infrastructure jobs. Because we knew, with the support of President Biden, Majority Leader Schumer, and a Congress that gets it, that we would be able to see the money flowing here. And we had to be ready. Having all that money come to New York doesn't help if we don't have people who can build the projects. And we have such a bold ambition for bringing this state back after the pandemic. It's all about putting people to work. And that's what we're doing. This is the place we met some young people. Their lives are forever changed when they come through these doors and get the certificate and go on for credentialed learning and going forward to be able to step into the jobs where the employers are begging for them, good paying union jobs. And we'll lift more people out of poverty, give them that ticket to the middle class, just as happened in my family, where I was surrounded by iron workers, longshoremen, steel workers, painters, plumbers. That's the family I came out of. Builders who will use their hands and their intellect. That's what I want to see for every young person in this community in particular. So I'm so honored to have partners in Washington as well. The Secretary of Labor, Marty Walsh, a former mayor, he gets it. He knows how important infrastructure projects are to all of us, to the lifeblood of our community. Projects like the 2nd Avenue subway that we'll talk about since 1940, and nobody got it done. They didn't have the heart, the determination that we have now, meeting pulling together. So we're going to get this done. We're going to make you proud, Mr. Secretary. We want you to talk to President Biden. Tell him we're grateful for those investments that we're spending to make sure that we can lift people out of poverty, give them these great jobs. It all starts with making sure we have the trained workforce for those jobs. So with that, great Secretary of Labor, Mr. Marty Walsh.
Thank you, Gov, and I want to thank you, Congressman Espaillat, for having me in your district today. Thank you, Governor, and your team, Workforce Development, for all the work we're doing together. It's an amazing honor to be here with Congressman Rangel here in this beautiful college, City College, in the Rangel Room Institution. You know, honestly, really what's happening here right now in this institution right here that we're standing in, and we're talking downstairs to the President, the Congress, and the Mayor, is creating an opportunity for a workforce that can take advantage of the Infrastructure Investment Act, take advantage of the CHIPS Investment Act, creating opportunities and pathways into good middle-class jobs. Historically, we think about construction. When we talk about construction, we talk about, you know, we'll get kids on the construction site and working as laborers and iron workers and carpenters, and that's a great career. I grew up in that career, but we here what they're shooting for is getting young people in the room to design the building, design the tunnels, design the garages, be engineers and architects. And we saw 4 young people downstairs that are probably in this room a minute ago, and one young woman was telling the governor that she never understood and never imagined that the careers that she's being taught here was for her ability to access them. So I really think that when you think about this country, and we think about where we are in the United States of America, Congress is active. Leader Schumer has done an amazing job as well, passing these bills. Now it's really down to City College to make sure that we're preparing young people to access those jobs. With the Congressman, you've done your work, Governor, you've done your work. Now we need to train our workers, as we know. So it's an honor to be here today to talk about that a little bit and build a strong relationship with the Department of Labor. Just if you don't know yet, you know, we're responsible for all the workforce development programs in the country. We're responsible for all the job training programs in the country. We're responsible for working on apprenticeships. So that's why it is such a strong connection here between community college, City College, Department of Labor, Congressman and the Governor's office. So thank you for having me today.
Thank you, Secretary. And of course, we had to hear from the visionary of this, because he's someone that I think is leading this initiative with his vision for America, as he's done for decades. I call him the Lion of Lenox Avenue. You guys call him Charlie, but he is Congressman Charles B. Rankin.
Thank you so much. My believe that I'm keeping it this short, but let me tell you that I so appreciate you for the dream that I've had for years in trying to find some vehicle to bring some equity to this great country that we do have. And God knows it was an experiment that I can't see how we got this far without a lot of problems, and we got a lot in front of us. It's not just bringing America together united, but to me, it's a part of national security and making certain that our country maintains its leadership being united. And when Vince, the president, became president, I had no idea who he was. And I shared with him the one thought I had, because they had made me, which I'm proud of, the ambassador in residence. And fortunately for me, nobody's ever asked me what the hell that means. And so I had to find a place to nurture this dream. I didn't know how far it would go with him, but anyone can dream. But it's the people that are here today that's going to make it a reality. In closing, I've written a book called I Haven't Had a Bad Day Since. I don't talk much about it, but on November 30th, 1950, I was 20 years old, fighting a war in Korea. Dropped out of high school. I had no idea where the hell Korea was, and less about why I was fighting, and totally was prepared to die as we were surrounded by tens of thousands of Chinese, and we had 90% casualties. I prayed to Jesus, Muhammad, in Latin and English and tongues. I said, if ever you get me out of this, believe me, I will never be a problem. I survived that. And every time something looks bad, I feel that there's someone on my shoulder saying, Rango, you know, you're here for a purpose. I feel at 92 years old that I'm beginning to pay back. And this is just something that is only in this country can you start with no dream and end up seeing something like this. And so it's the most patriotic thought that I can think of, because it has so little to do with me and so much to do with people that still believe that we have to make it because we made it this far. And so to each of you individually, I can only hope and pray that one day and one day soon you could say, you know, I was a part of that program when it started. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman. We'll hear from our president. We've been joined by Commissioner Roberta Reardon from the New York State Department of Labor, right behind me, and of course Senator Claudel Clear from Harlem, Assembly Member Manny De Los Santos
Right behind
as
you.
well, and of course we have Assemblywoman Inez Dickens, who's been with us throughout the tour, and Council Member Carmen De La Rosa, who's the chair of the Labor Committee in the New York City Council. So, thank you. Now we'll hear from President Baudron.
Well, I want to start out by saying it's wonderful to have the three great patrons of this effort, and one, Governor and Congressman Espaillat. Your investment in this program has been essential. And as Congressman Rangel said, the first thing he said to me when he became a statesman in residence at City College was, we've got to diversify the workforce in an infrastructure, but we also know that the infrastructure we're building is not going to be the old infrastructure. It's going to be the new infrastructure. So as Secretary Walsh said downstairs, you need these young people to be educated in digital technology as well. So at the core of our training, of course we do ocean training, of course we do building safety and basic construction training, but they also learn GIS archiving and project management and all the different tools you need to do digital designs. They will design infrastructure with drones, something we've never really done before. They will learn how to do crisis simulation as they do continuing training. The other thing that I think is really important about this initiative and marks it off as different is it's seated in a place that has an engineering school. So as we develop the new technologies for wind power, for transportation, for early warning, those technologies will immediately be made available to a workforce in this program. We are just getting started. We're building relationships with social and religious institutions in the Harlem area. But as Congressman Espaillat says many times, and we're glad he does, this is a model for infrastructure development around the country. The infrastructure has to be modern. It has to build a workforce that is diversified, and it's not currently diversified. And it also has to develop a model of educating that workforce that has the potential for taking people from blue-collar jobs to managerial positions. And that's another real big advantage of citing it in a college. I can go on and on about this program, but the main thing